Hi, everyone. It's Sarah. Welcome to Unmuzzled, a podcast. Before we get to anything, we're getting to Hinsdale Humane Society and Erin, their development director. By the way, I was doing the research, 72 years in existence. Who does that? That's amazing. Presenting sponsors, you're up. Thank you so much to our presenting sponsors. Yucca Fence is a family-owned, trusted provider of high-quality fencing solutions with over 57 years of experience. They take pride in protecting what you love the most and give back to rescues, shelters, and humane societies through their partnerships. They give you a free, no-obligation estimate and use the highest quality materials. For transparency and peace of mind, visit Yucca Fence for all your fencing needs. Canine Cruise is the place to take your pet. They offer dog and cat boarding, dog daycare, pet retail, and mindful day school. Tons of indoor space with a huge yard. Canine Cruise is your one-stop shop for professional pet care in Chicago. Kiki's Corner Natural Pet Foods in downtown Winfield, just a block south of CDH Hospital on the railroad tracks. Kiki's has all your food and health aid needs for dogs and cats. Kiki's Corner for a healthy, happy pet. Sniffing out a new vet? Bond Vet is a new breed of vet care that offers everything from primary care to walk-in urgent care visits. And right now, they've got a special treat for our listeners. You can use code UNMUZZLED to get $50 off your pet's first visit by booking at bondvet.com. That's code UNMUZZLED at BONDVET.com for $50 off. Thank you, sponsors. I really appreciate it. I bring to the stage Erin. Hello, Erin. How are you? Good to see you.
Hello, Sarah. Nice to see you.
Yes. So I know Erin. Full disclosure, I've known her for many years. She used to run her own rescue. We have been friends through the rescue community. So her and I actually bounce ideas. We share contacts. I think one thing, Erin, that you and I kind of learned early on, and it's because of, I think, the group of friends that we have in the rescue community, is that we don't gatekeep things, which I think is very important. Heather is from One Tail at a Time is one of the first people that taught me that, because of her success, she would share knowledge, which I feel it is so important these days, especially with everybody really struggling for funds in general. But tell me a little bit about just your past with animals and how you got here, because obviously to be in the business of animal rescue and animal welfare in general, you have to love animals. And what ends up happening is you deal a lot more with people, but the love of animals is still there.
Yeah, I got into it in a roundabout way. I was working, training my dog, who was not a rescue. So probably part of getting into rescue is karma. And I did not rescue her, but I was training her and ended up meeting some people who ran a rescue and was just throwing little events for them at bars, and then started to do more volunteering and more event planning. And then eventually the founders of the rescue moved on, and a couple of us took it over and started running it. And I ended up just basically running it for years until about 2023. And I decided since it was all volunteer, I decided I needed to remove myself a little bit from the stress, and because you do become attached. I became attached to every single dog that I pulled and every single dog that got adopted and all my fosters, and it was a lot. It was very consuming. So I decided I still wanted to be in animal welfare, but how could I make it more of a career? And so I wrapped up my rescue and I looked for jobs that helped me do what I still wanted to do, which was raise money. And I do love that. Ironically, I do love meeting people and connecting people, like you said, and helping people out, and really ultimately helping the animals. And to your point earlier, Heather was extremely pivotal for me when I took over the other rescues. She was very helpful and gave me a lot of support. So I have tried to do that in turn for other people in the rescue world, and it's helped. It's definitely been good karma for me.
I think that what you said is it's kind of an important note, because it is really hard to walk away from something that is such a passion. But if people really saw, and again, this reality show that I've been wanting to do for like 10 years now, if people really saw the day-to-day of what goes on, and it's not just, pulling dogs and getting them vetting. It's dealing with adopters that have an animal that might have behavior issues now after adoption, or fosters that now have a sick animal that wasn't sick when they got it, and you have to deal with that. Fosters giving up their animals. There's just like so much behind the scenes that goes on. And when you are volunteer run and you are working another job, while you're doing, like, it is a lot of work. It is really time consuming. So then to say, okay, it may be time. How hard was that to kind of give it up and say, okay, I'm done here?
It was a lot harder in retrospect than I realized. And I think I just recently realized how hard it was, because as director of development, I'm not in the day-to-day with the animals. I mean, of course, I harass my animal care people and my director of operations and everybody all the time, about what's going on, or, give my unsolicited opinion constantly. But it is very hard to compartmentalize myself. Although when I really think about it, I wanted to compartmentalize. I have still gotten the opportunity to help with the animals. Of course, I had a little baby kitten on my lap during a meeting today. We found her in my drawer in my desk. We thought she went missing, but we found her in my drawer. And I still go to CACC, and I will still be involved as much as I can. But yeah, my job to focus on the development piece, that is a lot of work in a different way. But I still get to support the mission. But yes, to answer your question, it's been more difficult than I realized to really just, let it all go.
Yeah. And we're going to get to your job, because it's very interesting. I'm on a lot of nonprofit pages, and they say like how important the development director is. It's such an important job. But as I was doing my research, I came upon the About page. And I mean, this story is incredible, because it was 6 women that were upset about the conditions of the pound, quote unquote, which, for people that don't understand animal control, sometimes they call it the pound. It's not really like PC to call it that anymore, because it's not how it runs. But the first thing they did really is educate people, which I find amazing, because that is really like the heart of Hinsdale Humane Society, is teaching people. And I think for you and I, like immersed in the rescue world, we think everybody knows, all of the things that we do, but really like talking to people and educating them about adoption and backyard breeders and why this pet shop isn't any good is really important. And it's a huge part of Hinsdale's mission, which I love. Is that 72 years later, it's like full circle. This is such an important part of what they do. So for you, obviously as development director, you take into account, the education portion when you're trying to plan out events and how you can make more money and get more donors and get people even through your doors to see what you do. Can you take us a little bit behind the scenes of what your daily tasks are? And I'm sure too, like you're kind of like me with Live Like Rue. Like I'm constantly looking ahead 6 months. It's really hard to do that sometimes, but you have to look ahead as well as do, your daily chores and tasks.
So it luckily I have, so we do have a social media person. So I do rely a lot on, you can't raise money without marketing, right? So that has to be a big piece of it. And, working with the marketing person to get the animals promoted, but also like our mission and education. And like you said, what does it mean to adopt versus, go and buy an animal? And people really are still hesitant to do so. So that's part of it. Working with my events manager, a lot of events end up being just community outreach, right? So we just show up at a store to bring some animals and talk to people about adoption, or we'll be at anything from a Pet Supplies Plus to like a Lily Pulitzer, where we can just really have people interact with our animals. We do a lot of puppy yogas. We do cat cafes, so people can come in and interact. They really enjoy interacting with the animals. And I think that makes a difference too. We also have summer camps, animal advocacy summer camps for kids to teach them about animals and animal welfare. And I think all of this is important. And it's really good that the kids get to be a part of it too, because then they can teach the adults, because we all think we know what we want when we get an animal. But if we learn a little bit more, we can hopefully understand that all kinds of animals end up in shelters, not just, the ones that nobody wants anymore. So.
Yeah, and you often think about, Hinsdale, Lily Pulitzer, that's like the target audience, which I love. But you are in a community where, these kids may have grown up with a dog from a breeder, which, we also advocate. Like, there are good breeders. There are good breeders where you can see the mom and you can see the dad and you have the papers and that's fine. But, when all of these animals are dying in open admission animal controls where they have to take every single animal, you can find those kind of animals too in animal control. So I do think that's important for kids that may, and even if the parents have, been brought up that way, to just see like, hey, I can get a rescue animal. And we should also know there are not so great rescues out there that burn people and make people go to breeders because they've had a bad experience with rescues. And I will tell you, those people then will tell their friends, hey, I went to this rescue. They didn't help me at all. They wouldn't take the dog back. They wouldn't listen to my problems. And, it kind of goes both ways. You can't also adopt a dog and give up in one day. We all know about, the 3-month rule. So that part of it, I think, is so important, is to be in the community. And I always say that too about Live Like Rue. Like, if we show up and we don't make money, it's okay. Like, people learn about what we do. And that's what I love about Hinsdale, is that you are really out there, like, telling people, hey, here's what we're doing, or come inside this amazing building that we have, which you do a lot of programs inside your building where they can see what you do. So I do love that.
We do stand by our animals, of course, and we do everything we can to help people, not just our adopters, but to help other people keep their animals in their homes. We have Pet Pantry. We try to send people to low-cost vaccination clinics. We'll be running some of our own soon. Things like that, where that is important, right? People do need support post-adoption. And things happen. People have questions. People get nervous. So yeah, it is important to educate, obviously, before people adopt, while they're choosing an animal to find the right match, and then afterwards to have that support. So we also offer a lot of support via, vet partnerships that we have, and different like insurance partnerships as well. But yeah, I mean, if somebody's adopting an animal, they know exactly who to call when they're having a problem, and they call. So we do have a lot of people who need support, and we want people to keep their animals in their homes.
Yeah, that's a great point, especially now, I think too. Sometimes, if a person can get a few bags of food or a few, cat food cans, like that may prevent them from surrendering their animal to a shelter or to a rescue. And that's one less cage that they're taking up. And now, with this shelter crisis and homeless dog and cat crisis, it is number one is keeping them together if you can do it. Unfortunately, there are people that just give up and there is no hope, unfortunately, or, they lose their housing. We have all seen people that live with their dogs in their car and they can't give up their pet. Well, what can we do to help? Will this food or will low cost vetting help? So that honestly is just as important as the education and pulling the dogs from open admission and animal controls. So for you, development director, what is kind of your focus now for the next 6 months and then leading into Giving Tuesday, which is huge. For those of you that don't know what Giving Tuesday is, it falls the Tuesday after Thanksgiving and Black Friday. So, you have a holiday, you spend all your money at the stores, and then charities ask you for money on Giving Tuesday. And for a lot of charities, it is one of their biggest days to fundraise. So how do you kind of look ahead to that? I know it's hard, but I know you're already doing it.
Yeah, you're right. And actually, to answer, sorry, I kind of went off, but to answer your question, my day-to-day does include, of course, always thinking about the animals. And I do get distracted. I sometimes have to isolate myself. Like I said, today I was at the shelter to work and I found a kitten in my drawer. So I have to be very careful because and then we have this other dog, Jacob, who's just this massive little American bully. And I was so distracted by him forever. So I have to, concentrate. But I do a lot of outreach this summer. I have a whole program reaching out to our donors. We have to make sure we're still engaging our donors all the time, our supporters, our donors, anyone who's interested, because people forget in the summer, they're so busy having fun. But we have a ton of events this summer, of course, little events here and there, little fundraisers, we do a lot of community events, farmers markets. We do a lot at Oak Brook. There's our frozen treats event. We do a lot of those, the cat cafes, where people can just come to the shelter and play with cats, literally. So you can be an adult and do this, or you can bring kids. If you want to have a cover, you can bring some kids with you. But everyone loves it. And like I said, we also do the puppy yogas, but the cat cafes are such a good way to get people in our doors, playing with the animals. It helps us socialize the kittens and the cats. So they're very popular and people love them. So we do those. It also gives you an opportunity to see our shelter and see what we do. We have a massive fundraiser coming up in October, a big Halloween fundraiser we're doing at the Porsche dealership in Westmont. We have a charity motorcycle ride in October. But yeah, our summer is full of little events. So luckily my events manager and our animal care team are teaming up as well for those events. But we'll be out in the community. Come find us. We do try to come into the city once in a while, but of course our biggest support happens to be in the suburbs. But we don't want to be isolationists. We'll go anywhere.
Yeah, and then I was looking through Facebook, and this is like something that I love because TheraPause is something that y'all do where you go to these nursing homes, or that might not be the correct term for them anymore.
Assisted living homes.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There we go. But when I was looking at the pictures, like the smiles on these people's faces, like this just like makes their day. I used to take my dog Cheese to these, and like I would always leave crying because like it means so much to people to have. Yeah, all of these people probably had dogs growing up, and this is just awesome. Gets you out in the community, and it also is wonderful for these people. So I love that a lot.
Yeah, we're working also to do a cat cafe with an assisted living center because there is a group of them that allows pets. So a goal of ours would be, to hopefully find seniors who maybe would want to foster a pet if they could have a pet in their community, because, it's not a full commitment, right? You would still the animal would still be getting adopted, but you would have the companionship. So that's a goal of ours as well. But the cat cafe at the assisted living home, I think, is going to be a really good. It'll be really good for everybody.
I'll be looking at that, whenever I need that. Hopefully, like 40 years from now. No. And then the volunteers. I know this is close to your heart too. We talked a little bit about it with your former rescue. It's just volunteers are like the key to the cog and everything. I feel like everything I do, everything you do, so important to have good, committed volunteers that can spend time with these animals and enrich their lives.
And we have a fabulous volunteer manager, and she has really cultivated our volunteers. And we have so many volunteers. We have volunteers who've been with us for, 20 years. It's just incredible. And the ones who are up right now, Carol, who's holding the puppies, the two little puppies, she's adopted 3 dogs from us.
Wow.
Yeah, she's fabulous. And then the other 3 are also long-term volunteers, amazing people. Also, they're also donors. They're also supporters. They're also our biggest marketing piece, right? Carol works at the front desk. And so, she's the first face that a lot of people see when she's there, and it's really important. And then the other photo is at an event last month, the Birdie Car Show, and those volunteers were amazing. They had the dogs out there and they were talking to people about donating and just what we do. And again, they're our biggest marketing piece. They're so many times the face of what we do. We have a lot of people come in and do, the professional photos, or like the influencers who do photos of our animals. And we have that picture is in the puppy bowl. So it's literally a puppy bowl, but we use it for training. We have an in-house trainer and enrichment and activities. So, and a lot of times if the dogs don't do as well in their kennels, they'll get to spend a few hours in there just hanging out, and people can go hang out with them as well. So it's really a versatile room for us, but it's amazing for the dogs as well.
Yeah, I love that. And so many important people that go into the daily workflow of a rescue, and a lot of people have no idea. So I think going into Hinsdale and seeing that smiling face at the desk and seeing all of the amazing facilities that you all have is important, especially if you're interested in donating to these kind of rescues. The other thing too, I think that's important to note is right now, especially, there's a lot of people struggling. So these little, and Hinsdale isn't little, I hate to say that, but as compared to some of the bigger local rescues or national rescues, look to your community when you want to donate, because you are helping your neighbor. And when I say that, I don't mean your next door neighbor, but like you're helping in the community, which is so important because you want, your community to thrive. So instead of looking up here at all of these rescues and foundations with huge marketing budgets and 20 staff members to do development, look in your community, because right now more than ever, people need these rescues, foundations, charities, and we will see, all of these organizations really start to struggle with donors, but there's going to be a lot of people too that need them. So it's a tough spot to be in. I know I'm like speaking from my heart because I'm experiencing this.
Yeah, it's true. And that it's a really good point. And we don't just, even though our name is Hinsdale Humane Society, and that's where we were founded and that's where we are physically, we serve the surrounding areas. We have stray contracts with so many other towns, even towns in Cook County. So, we serve other counties as well. There's towns as far south as Alsip that have, brought us animals because they have nowhere to take them. Like the closest shelter to them is full. And then, luckily we could take an animal, but that's just one example. We have so many stray contracts. So we take stray animals. We don't only take animals from CACC or DuPage or other shelters. We also take stray animals, and only about 20% of those go back to the owner. So then those animals become our animals, right? And then we get them adopted out. So it's really important to realize that we aren't just serving the town of Hinsdale. Of course we are, and we have a straight contract with them, and we do so much in our community, but we expand out to all the surrounding areas, and there's a lot of areas in high need that are very close to us.
Yeah, important note too. So just so everybody understands the stray hold. So if a police department would find a dog or a cat or whatever, they would bring it to Hinsdale, and Hinsdale does a stray hold. Is it 5 days still, Erin?
Yeah, DuPage, yes, and DuPage is slightly different, but basically it's 5 to 7 days, chipped or not chipped, depending.
Okay, yeah, right. So they hold the animal in case there is an owner looking for it. It's posted, to be able to find it. But then, like Erin said, if no owner comes for it, they inherit that animal. So if you think about it, that could be a lot of animals, even in a month, where that then takes up a cage. And instead of being able to pull from, Chicago Animal Care and Control or other animal controls in their area, or take an owner surrender, they then have that cage being, and it's interesting because the stray hold, there was a big argument about this when I was at Chicago Animal Care and Control as a volunteer, because I believe it was 7 days when I was there, and they actually cut it down to 5 days because it was always packed full of strays. And there were a lot of discussions about, is 5 days enough for an owner to find their pet? And, it took a lot for it to get down to 5 days, I remember. And a lot of us were happy because we as volunteers would have to wait until that stray hold was up to take an animal out. So if you think about an animal in a cage for 24/7 for 7 days,
yeah,
that's so hard, not to be able to touch it. At Animal Control, we could not touch the animals because they were not property of Chicago Animal Care and Control. So if we would take that animal out and something happened, that owner could sue. Anyway, I don't know how we got here, but I was trying to explain it to the people listening because it's hard to understand sometimes, like a stray hold. And it is very interesting because I'm sure you don't get a ton of them, but there's probably times of the year where you do.
You'd be surprised how many we get. And again, chipped to 7 days. So, people do have a week to find their animals. I mean, we had a puppy, I think she was like 3 months old, a little doodle, like a Bernedoodle puppy, stray, and chipped to like nowhere, right? But, we had to make sure that we did all the research. And I say the animal care team did all the research and made sure that it, didn't have an owner, because how do you, a 3-month-old little doodle, it was mind boggling. So again, she went to a good home and got adopted, but these are the animals that end up in strays. We have a lot of forest preserves out in the western suburbs. So of course, people who don't want, they might feel bad, or they might feel ashamed, or they just can't do it anymore, and they'll let the animal go on the forest preserve. So, you'd be surprised. We do end up with a lot of strays. So, they become our property at a lot of them, at 80% of them at some point.
I can think of some ways that a 3-month-old Bernedoodle will get lost. Don't at me. I'm not saying anything. Doodle puppies are a lot of work and a lot to handle. So
don't blame the dog, Sarah.
No, Bernedoodles are very cute. They have one of
she was very cute. She was very cute.
Anyway, Erin, thank you so much. Just real quick. So the biggest needs, I a lot of people always ask me, money is number one. You have a wish list I saw on your website of just obviously like a facility as big as yours. You need things. So wish list, anything else that people can do to help out? Volunteers, probably.
I mean, wish list, we always need things. We always need bleach. We always need, supplies. I mean, if you're at Costco and you're wondering if you want to buy something extra, if you're buying anything for Prime Days or anything, think of us. We're happy to help with that. We always need the things on our wish list. Of course, I would love to see people come to our fundraisers. And, of course, we always need donations, but I want people to understand why they're donating, and I want them to feel good about it. So, if there's anyone who wants to reach out and say, why should I give to you over anyone else? I'm happy to answer. But yes, of course, we always want people to feel good about giving to us and supporting us, and come see what we do. Stop by the shelter. And, if you want to adopt, fill out an application. And we'd love to see you there.
Yeah, I always say that too. Like, I love to meet people at events. Like, sometimes just showing up at an event.
Yeah.
You love cars, you love motorcycles. So a lot of your events are centered around that. And it kind of like reaches a fan base that's a little bit different than the dog rescue world, or cats, whatever. Sorry, cats. But it does reach a different audience, which I think is important too. Like, it's not so, okay, we're going to do this bar event. Okay, we're going to go do this vest. Okay, we're going to do this adopt. no, we're going to have like a car show. We're going to have like a motorcycle show. Like, that's cool. So, sometimes like just showing up at events, it's good for my soul because I never want to leave the house either. Believe me, I don't want to go to things, but we do to support our friends and, that kind of thing. But like that kind of stuff for a rescue is so meaningful to have a packed house or a packed fest or a packed motorcycle car show. Like, sometimes that is more meaningful than any donation to just show up. So in this age, as you get older, you don't want to leave the house. You want to stay home with your dogs. But please, like, support, especially local charities. Like, it takes a lot of work, Erin knows, a lot of work to do these events. So just showing up sometimes is good enough for any of us, for sure.
Yeah, and tell us why you're there, or why I like to know. I like that. I don't always love negative feedback, but I can take it and we can make a difference, right? So if you don't understand what it means to adopt, or you've always bought dogs or cats or whatever it is, and you have questions, that's why we're here. We want to help people.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Erin. You've been a great guest. So much knowledge. I didn't go off about too much. That was good.
I kept it PC. I kept it clean.
Yeah. No swearing. I don't even have to put an O on this one.
Are you so shocked? I know.
No.
No one will recognize me.
Yeah. Erin from Hinsdale Humane Society. Go check out their website, www.hinsdalehumanesociety.org. Make sure you put .org. That's so charities. That's a legit charity when they have a .org at the end of their email or their website. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you, Sarah. Bye.
Yes, so much goodness happening at Hinsdale. If you've not been to that facility, you should definitely go check it out. It's really brilliant. Sorry, the sun, if you're watching the video, the sun is beating off my head. I'm sorry. Supporting sponsors, thank you. Thank you to our supporting sponsors. On the corner of Montrose and Troy in Chicago's Irving Park neighborhood, you'll find a hidden gem known as Templestowe Pub. They have a great selection of local draft beers, and the Malort is always flowing. Oh no. Join us for a charity bingo event or a tap takeover with a local brewery. Don't want to leave your dog at home? All good, bring them along. Whether you're throwing darts or playing a banger on the jukebox, you're guaranteed to have an awesome time. So head on over to 3135 West Montrose and look for the old style sign. The Canine PT is Chicago's highest rated dog physical therapy clinic, and they're dedicated to enhancing the lives of your four-legged companions as they age or when recovering from an injury. Give the gift of pain relief to your furry friends. They also offer a discount for rescue dogs. For more information, visit thecaninept.com. Intuitive animal behavior dog training, positive reinforcement, force-free and fear-free training solutions for every dog. Jenna offers individualized training, behavioral boarding, shelter support, and positive reinforcement board and train services. Creating an environment that is happy and healthy for your pets is so important. For more information, go to intuitiveanimalbehavior.com. Thank you so much to Erin from Hinsdale Humane Society. Please go check them out. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.